Girls in the Paddock. It's just me today. I had the recent honour of interviewing Zahra and Abiha from F1Girlsplained, and this is my chat with them. I hope you enjoy.
So my first question for you guys is, how did you first become interested in F1 Academy?
Yeah. You want to say it? Okay. So before we got F1 TV, we used to watch F1 on whatever channel was broadcasting it on TV. And I think we were watching at the same time as like background noise, and we saw a Susie Wolf interview, and she was basically talking about the idea of it because it was like early 2023.
Mm.
And yeah, there was also social media following their official accounts, and a lot of drivers posted on their stories as well, I remember. So yeah.
Yeah, so it was basically the first initial interviews with Susie. Like we knew of Susie, but we weren't really aware of where her achievements were. We just knew her as Toto Wolff's wife. But then we got more into it through her. So we listened to the interviews, and then a couple of the drivers are very active on TikTok, like Bianca and there's Amna and Hamda. They showed up on our For You pages, and then we at first I thought they were maybe like part of like a junior series, and then we later found out that oh no, a Formula One Academy is its own thing. So that's when we kind of started following it last year.
Yeah, and how do you think F1 Academy has impacted the motorsport community so far?
No, I think it made it like F1 Academy, it just made everything so much more inclusive, especially since F1 and like motorsports is such a male-dominated sport. It's like very special and very different to have women, like a whole series just women-based kind of. Obviously it inspires a lot of people, a lot of young girls, a lot of us. It like obviously motivates us that women can dominate or women can be in a male-dominant sport. And it's just yeah.
Especially now because I know like especially in terms of female fans, like there's a lot more female fans coming into Formula One, or like
Mm.
I think for me too, like in my introduction to motorsports was through Formula One, which is a male dominated sport, right? So but then now that you're just getting to see for F1 Academy, and even female drivers participating in other sorts of motorsport, it's inspiring to see. And even though I'm like 22 and I know I can't get into motorsport at this age, but somebody who's like coming up, or like let's say my niece, she's 6. So if she was to watch like let's say a girl racing, I feel like it would actually interest her to actually try to figure out, oh, what it's not something that's just for boys, and perhaps get her into karting. And same way, I think it would inspire younger girls to like start karting early on and to think about this as a career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What has been your favorite race this season, and are there any memorable moments from the races that stand out to you?
You can do this one first.
Okay. So, as for the races, I think because this year is when they officially started broadcasting every race, I think it's been pretty memorable in that sense. But and as for the races, they've been super fun to watch, and especially to actually understand how the weekends are set up because of how different it is from Formula One. Our most, I think, memorable one thing that we really loved was how the Formula One drivers go and support drivers that are part of their academy, or even just go and support drivers. Like I think last year, when they started broadcasting the final race, I remember Lewis, he had gone, and Carlos had gone to greet and meet Marta, who had won the championship for Formula One Academy, and that was just something really cool because I feel like as us fans, yeah, we look up to them, but then these girls, they're the ones that are racing, and they're definitely like the Formula One drivers are definitely their heroes, right? So I feel like that's something really special. And then this year too, like I know Lando went to go meet Bianca before her race. And then I was listening to Bianca's interview too, and she was really inspired by him. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. So that's just something that I felt like was very memorable. And also
Yeah,
just
that's
like the
really,
races in general.
yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, I personally love F1 Academy as well, and I think it's awesome that all these drivers are going down to support and really bringing the attention to F1 Academy that it deserves.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, how do you feel about the level of competition among the drivers in F1 Academy?
I feel like just like every other racing series, F1, F2, the smaller series as well, it's just as competitive. And I don't think like people should, like kind of put stereotypes to that. Oh, girls stick together, they're not as competitive. Because I've heard a
Mm,
lot of people say that, and I'm like
Yeah.
that's not something that should be there. It's like a professional thing. They know how to be competitive, and it is pretty competitive. I've seen like the races and stuff, and yeah,
Yeah, and at the same time, like while they are competitive, they are super respectful of one another
exactly.
on track and off track. Like I've seen their I think one of almost all of us has probably seen their TikToks.
Mhm.
How they're making TikToks together even though they're on different teams and they're just hanging out together. So I think that even though there is competitiveness between them, there's a lot of respect between them too. And
yeah,
yeah, I think that just makes F1 Academy so much more fun too. That it's not something like, oh, it's not petty competitiveness, or it's not like, oh, I'm gonna be mean to you.
Mhm.
It's genuine, like it's how I think other parts of motorsports work.
yeah, for sure. And as content creators, what challenges do you face when you produce content about F1 Academy?
Personally, like all the TikToks I've made about F1 Academy, I posted stories first when Bianca signed as McLaren's one of McLaren's racing drivers. A lot I've gotten a lot of hate and controversial comments. Just it's mostly just men or like people that are very salty about women being such a big part of motorsport now. Especially Bianca, they always target like the main drivers. I don't know, they just have a lot to say. Like they have very strong opinions on how women should not be part of this. And I had to delete a lot of comments just because how wrong they were.
And then there's also that another, I think most people aren't interested in Formula One Academy, or just like even Formula 2 or Formula 3, because when we do upload videos, and we've noticed the stats on the Formula One videos, or like our weekend recaps, they're a lot higher than when we post updates about, oh, what's happening in Formula One Academy or F1 Academy, or what's happening in like Formula 2. So I think and then for F1 Academy is even like it's at the lowest side
Mhm.
of views and comments and interactions. So I think that's one of the biggest thing where I wouldn't really say it's like a personal challenge in the sense we're getting hate on it, like while we are getting hate on it, but this is another challenge, is that it doesn't get much interaction, so people aren't really interested in learning about F1 Academy. So now I don't know if that's
Mm,
because it's a female dominated sport, or there's not much known about it, but it's just that people seem to be more interested in Formula One and F2, F3 sports, that yeah, motorsports that
yeah.
like that.
What are your hopes for the future of F1 Academy?
I really hope it's like as in the future, it's like as recognized and appreciated as like F1 and F2, some like the smaller racing series. A lot of people aren't aware of like the rules and like everything going on in here, and I really hope that in the future it does get as popular as like bigger racing events and series. Yeah.
And then another thing I think is, again, I said this before too, it's to get younger girls more into motorsport. And because Formula One itself is such a male dominated sport, and there's such limited seats, I feel like and having more girls try on karting and like motorsport from an early age, I think it gives them a better chance to perhaps get a Formula One seat.
Mhm.
And I think the same way with F1 Academy too, is that maybe perhaps one of these drivers is good enough or is recognized enough to be deserving a seat in Formula One. And again, it's just 20 drivers. So one of them being a female driver, I think it would definitely be one of the most like hopeful things for us female
Mhm.
fans in the sport.
Mm. Do you think there are any specific challenges faced by the drivers simply because they are women?
Oh, 100%. I feel like most of the hate they get is again stereotypical. Like have a few examples. One is there was an ad that Bianca did where she was applying like makeup before a race, and people just went off on her, like in the comments on Twitter. I've heard they were just going off about how women apply makeup before racing and men just straight up wash their face and get in the car, which I honestly think is such a messed up thing to say because that was an ad she did, and I highly doubt they do that. And even if they did, there was nothing wrong with it. Also when Charlotte Tilbury sponsored F1 Academy, a lot of people bashed that, even though they were only makeup. But like when in F1 teams, when I mean, sorry, when companies that sponsored F1 teams, they were like VUs, for example, which is a vape brand and vape shop. When they sponsored
McLaren.
McLaren, it was no one said anything about that, even though
Even though that's worse for your health than
exactly,
like makeup, right?
exactly.
So it just, and then other thing, this is okay. One thing is getting hate, or like the drivers getting hate from people who watch the sport, and then there's also drivers getting sexist comments about them through commentators. Like I think the last race in Miami, Abby Pulling, she was fixing her hair before she got on the podium, and then one of the commentators was like, oh yeah, she's fixing her hair, because among these like, oh, she's a girl, she's fixing her hair, when we've seen male drivers fix their hair before getting on the podium, right?
Even
First thing,
after the podium,
exactly,
yeah,
the first
they
thing
take
they
the hat
do
off.
in the cool down room is fix their hair. I'm like, I don't see the connection here. So it's just that I feel like, again, girls do deserve the same respect, um, even the same respect as the male drivers, because they are still accomplishing, yes, at a lower level, but they're accomplishing the same thing. So I just feel like getting sexist comments from especially people who are actually working at in the paddock, or people who are working for the sport, it's I think it just puts a negative image on this whole thing. That yeah, so it's just that, like, us girls, I feel like we already face so many challenges, but especially when you're put into a male dominated sport, it's like, oh yeah, you're not worth it. So I think that's one of the main challenges that these drivers face.
Are there any changes or improvements you'd like to see them make for F1 Academy?
We can do this.
As for now, I think one of the biggest change that I would like to see is talking about it more. And this could be either from the driver. I know the female drivers, and like Susie, she does do a lot of projects, and we are getting to know from F1 Academy more. But I feel like there's also not enough recognition that we get. So even I feel like some of the changes that could happen is to get people talking about F1 Academy, is perhaps that Sky Sports could have a coverage about it. I remember on Women's Day they did do a coverage on young girls who were inspired to kart because of F1 Academy, and I just feel like if they did more coverage like those, and more segments like those, and include the female drivers, I think it would get a lot more recognition. So I think that's one of the major things. They get talking about it, so more fans know about it, and the more they can actually watch, interact, and enjoy it. So I think that's one of the, yeah, the biggest change that needs to happen.
Yeah, and that's all my questions for you guys.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
That's it
Thank
then.
you.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Have a good night, day.
Day.
Have a good
Yeah,
day.
enjoy your day.
Good luck on
Enjoy